A very, very warm welcome to you this afternoon, and over to you, Sanjay.
So, keeping in the spirit of efficiency, we're going to have no more speeches. So, I want to go straight into the question, but before that, I want Honorable Minister that the audience here and the membership of ASSOCHAM is lakhs of MSMEs and SMEs. Very few large corporates, but they are, but I suppose they're here at many, many forums. I think this forum is forms the backbone of all the large corporate supply chain. And we talk about a supply chain to the world, but frankly, MSMEs form the backbone of the OEMs here itself. And I don't think they get an opportunity to hear from a person like you. And today morning, Minister Goyal spoke a lot about ease of doing. And I think love to hear from your perspective. We're definitely entering an era of uncertainty, we know that. From your perspective and from your lens, this community, which I think forms the backbone of the industry, what should they know just as high points or certainty, and maybe delve that very quickly into opportunities and challenges for them as you see it. And then I will, go a little bit deeper into different the stage with that.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and my good wishes to in a way, I can say that, everywhere in the world, actually, MSME is the heart of business. Many years ago, 30 years ago, I went to Japan. And, sabke man mein hota hai, Japan, those days, Sony was big, Panasonic was big, you had these big names. But actually, you discovered these big names are in the front, behind names. Some are known names, some are not known names. Without those 20,000 names, that big name cannot survive for 1 week. So everywhere, one point I must say, in every country, how you look after MSMEs is after the economy, and therefore it is very, very, yes, the big corporates will have their interests and their that is legitimate, but I think there is an obligation on the part of the government to actually focus very, very. I want to share that with you. By the way, I must tell you, I also have MSME connection. For a long time, I lived in Noida. All my neighbors were MSME people, and I'm still very much, shall I say, I have some personal associations. And in fact, during COVID, one of the rest of the country was on lockdown, but ministers were on super duty. So, sabki teen shift lagi hui thi. One of my shifts was to keep checking up happening in terms of the industrial estates of the country. So, I want to say this. Look, world today is actually, not just today, last 5 years, I would say, has been a very difficult place for a variety of. We had COVID 2.5 years. We are having also a problem that as we open our economy, everybody thought openness, you get benefits of openness. Of course, we got benefits of openness. But that same openness also became goods which were produced by non-market economies, goods which were subsidized, to actually be, for those goods to be sent to India. And that is a competition which I would regard as an unfair competition. Our concerns today is how do we actually ensure that our MSME sector is actually protected from unfair competition. Now, what is the situation today in the world? I think even before November meaning the election abhi America mein hua tha, but even before November, I think there were a lot of serious problems in the world economy. And these problems are visible in different countries in different ways. Across countries, the manufacturing sector has been hit. MSME sector has been particularly hit. MSMEs have found it very difficult to deal with unfair competition in open economy. So the challenge which today, either you stop the unfair competition or you close the economy. Nobody wants to close the economy. So we have to find some solutions to deal with that unfair competition. And you can find that solution partly defensively, partly by support companies. So I would say, how to make it easier to do business, how to, improve credit support to companies, how to reduce bureaucracy, how to improve logistics, all this is part of how to actually support industry in this country. Now, I also want to say one other thing, sometimes people say, wo manufacturing ka zamana chale gaya, that is for China, we can never compete, etc. If we do not have manufacturing, have technology, जिस आदमी को, जिस देश को manufacturing की समझ नहीं है, how will they have the industrial climate to understand technology? If you don't understand technology, this era of AI, this era of space, this era of drones will miss out on it. So I would say today it is absolutely as one of the top priorities of the Modi government that we have to push manufacturing in this country. We have to create more manufacturing zones. We have to improve logistics. We have to make ourselves more competitive. And I think we have made progress, but there is one last comment. You said, what are the opportunities? Because mostly I've spoken about challenges. I think there are opportunities. There is going to be in supply chain in the world, there is going to be some shifts. After January, what will be the old equations may not be the same. There may be opportunities. There will also be some challenges for us. But overall, I would say, how can we make ourselves more efficient, more the way by which actually we will be more effective in the world?
Thank you. I think we tried to address a lot of that today morning, and I must tell you, I missed introducing, we had instituted a study on EODB, which is a much misused word. We call it cost of doing business, and sitting here, professor from IIM Bangalore, ex-RBI chair. So we did a study grounds up, and with some hard-hitting facts. We'll give you a book anyway, so we won't, but we took the Minister of Commerce through this. So that brings you upon technology. So we can obviously have our own technology, but the fact is America, China, and has a lot of technology, and we won't touch on capital right now. So with Trump coming in and the China relations, yes, we can invent our own technology, but the world is way, way ahead of us. We need the technology. We need to, maybe import is the wrong word, but we need to have good. So thinking of Trump 2.0, thinking of China, maybe both those you could throw some light on, because that's on top of everybody's mind, and it ultimately impacts our Mittelstand.
Okay.
Call them, right?
Sanjay ji, see, I'm not saying we should invent every technology. I'm saying, we are capable of doing some. But how did companies get to where it is? Japanese did not invent everything. They worked with the Europeans, did the collaboration, and got to where they are. Chinese got it, the Koreans. The Southeast Asia, Korea got it from Japan or from Europe. So what happens when you go up the chain? You have to collaborate. You grow by working with other countries and other companies. So I would say today, as foreign minister, my world is an opportunity. The more we collaborate, the more we will raise our standards. There is an issue of resources, yes, like you said. But there is an issue of technology. There is an issue of best practices. There is an issue of competitiveness. And we will only... So, but I would also say one thing, and especially for MSMEs. Today, there is one big issue in much of the world. वहाँ लोग नहीं है, आबादी कम हो रही है. This is a big issue. We had German Chancellor just recently. Along with him, I think there were almost 600-700 German companies who came. Their biggest interest was they have in many cases, they have the capital, they have the technology, they have even the innovation, they have the ambition. They don't have the talent. The things he told us is that he's prepared to look at, talent, getting more Indian talent. But I give you the reverse. Why does the talent have to go out? The business can, instead of talent going, but business will come in if people feel there is a collaboration benefit by coming to India, which means we have to create a good business reputation, we have to create a good business climate, but we have to have industry. So, I'm seeing today the global capability centers is one area, one sector which is growing very fast. But you don't have to be a very big company necessarily. I can see in the coming times in many areas, many niche areas, people will want, partners in India, relationships in India. In the old days, we would say, वो हमारे market के लिए आते हैं. But I think today वो हमारे talent के लिए भी आएंगे. And you have to say, okay, work with me. Look, there'll be many things I can do for you, and I can work with you, and that's how we will absorb technology.
I agree with you fully, and I think that's that's fully right. The foreigners make in India for India and for the world, so you can even manufacture here and export to the world. But then there is a whole other set of issues the folks face on ease of doing business, but that obviously your government is addressing it separately through logistics costs coming down over time with the PM Gati Shakti, power, sort of other things there. But coming back on collaboration, Trump 2.0, how do you see the government to government? Because that is also important. Because I know American companies for a long time. They come for a profit pool and evidence of profit. So I expect, fine, expectation of profit. And they're not that patient. So how do you see the Trump 2.0 relationship? I know it's a bit early, but I'm sure you have some views on that.
See, in my business, study, I won't even say a hobby, it is an obsession with people. What is he saying? Every word, every sentence, every speech is analyzed, and people are making predictions. And like any business, how do you make predictions? The data which you already have. So we had Trump 1.0. What he did in 1.0 is some basis. But many things have changed also in 4 years. So it won't exactly be like 1.0. Now he has said some things earlier. We have to wait and see. We have to be a little bit patient. I think the world has a general sense that these are possible things which can happen in Trump 2.0. So what are those possible things? Those possible things are, in a sense, one, a stronger commitment in America to manufacturing. Number two, a belief in America that the world, other partners have not been fair with America. So we have to change the terms of engagement or transactions. And number three, that, an America which will, continue, they are still the biggest power and they have a global presence. Nobody else is close. I think the the gap between America and China is actually very, very big in terms of global presence. Okay, globe is very good, but, finally, what is my gain out of this relationship? In a sense, a more business-like America, which is looking at much more immediate, immediate outcomes and results. So how do you deal with one? By messaging that, look, our interests are aligned. Anything we do, आपका भी भला होगा, मेरा भी होगा. So there is a certain, there is a deal here. There is a mutuality here. There's a benefit. To also look at where are the interests of America. Where is it that America will also need us? Now, in many areas where America will want to keep technology leads, new emerging areas, what we call emerging and critical technologies, for example. Take semiconductors. You know, America today, there was a time when America dominated the semiconductor industry. Okay, then the industry migrated to a significant, at least manufacturing side. Today, they have tried to bring back the manufacturing, but they cannot do it all, and their efficiency and their human resources does not allow that. So you have to have some understanding, saying, okay, you know, some part of the business is here, some part of the business is there, but look, I'm a market economy partner. So we'll have to work out also a political equation with America. And that, I think, is one area where we score, because, you know, we've always had a positive political relationship with Trump, and, you know, I would say this, Trump a positive political view of India. It will not automatically translate into every transaction. You know, like everybody else, we may also have some issues. We will deal with those issues. But I would say, when I look around the world today, you know, there are countries who actually have, you know, at the Trump 2.0 as a political challenge. We are not. And I think that separates us from a very large number of countries. So we are in a much more advantageous position to translate 2.0 relationship.
I think that answers the question. I think you're right. The political angle is actually important, and if that can be conveyed across, then hopefully the FDI, corporates, collaborations, joint ventures can get an uptake.
That's why I'm sitting here saying it to you. They will also hear it.
So, you know, but I must tell you, their governors, I was at one of your events in Germany, and their governors are flying around in private jets, and they're pitching for make in a particular state. State-wise governors, I was telling my friends last night, state-wise governors are flying around into Europe, pitching, here's land, here's power cost, which is nothing, and labor competition on that front. So if you're right, if the political landscape can be, which I think you rightly said, we are so well positioned with them, culturally, value-wise, democracy, everything. So it should work. So I think the rest is all of us to do a good job on the balance part. So just in the same tone, comments on China, where obviously as mutually well positioned, I don't know how to even word it, I'm not a diplomat, but how do you tackle that? Because they also have technology, they also have capital. And one more thing we heard from the CA earlier, if you want to be a supply chain, which we keep saying, you have to have a connection with China, because they are the supply chain behind the supply chain for literally everything, even for critical minerals. So just maybe a comment on that.
Look, I'll make two comments. One, yes, there are global. One single country accounts for 33% of global manufacturing. Then it is logical that many supply chains will go through that country, and it's a reality with which we will have to factor into our calculation. But it is also a fact that if you become excessively dependent on single supply chains, or you, in the name of supply chains, you open up your market so that it is no longer a supply chains, but your sectors are getting hollow. Careful there. So nobody is saying don't do business, but we are equally saying, you know, think about it, weigh it, you know, look at the bigger term implications. MSMEs, that, you know, we don't want to end up as a market of another economy and not be able to compete with their products which are, you know, dumped in our country. We have to find the right balance here. Now, there's a second problem. The second comment is that, you know, for the last 4.5 years, our political relationship with China has not been good. It has not been good. All of you know why. Yesterday and day before, I had made a very detailed statement in Parliament that, okay, things have improved a little bit. We have managed to make some progress out there. We have to now sit down and discuss with the Chinese what we do further. But I think there are no black and white answers in very sharp terms saying, I think everything needs to be balanced and weighed, and I would advocate that with China.
Okay, that's terrific. And maybe we just move to Russia for a minute, where we ship, but a one-sided import relationship. Again, I'm back to my MSMEs at the end of the food chain always. What can we do to enhance exports to them?
I'm glad you asked that question, because what has happened is in the last 2 years, people generally know that we have been importing more oil from Russia. I think what people don't know so well is it's not only oil. We've also, for example, been importing other natural resources. Coking coal is a very good example. We've also been importing fertilizers in large amounts. And to my mind, actually, this is a long-term, this is a shift which I hope will be long-term, because I think why is it in the interest of India? Given our, look at our situation today. We are today, let us say, a below $4 trillion economy, 3.5, 4, let us say, likely to grow to 8% for at least 2 to 3 decades more. What do we need? We have people. Okay. Yes, we discuss we need technology, but we also need access on a long-term sustainable basis to natural resources. The countries which are basically natural resources economies, Russia, Australia, and Indonesia, Brazil, these are our natural partners. These will be important partners in the times to come. Now, what we are getting from Russia is, also existed before 2022. The problem before 2022 was their attention was elsewhere. They were primarily looking at the West. Now, after 2022, they are focusing much more on Asia, and we should take full benefit of what they are trying to do. But now that there is such a big, import from Russia, we are pressing Russian leadership very strongly, saying, look, we are buying so many things and we are buying it, we are good customers, we are long-term customers. So good customer, okay, so all of you know that in business, you have to look after your customers as well. So we also need, a better access to the Russian economy. So we are pressing them, in marine products. We are pressing them in some of the agro products. And there are, there are SPS restrictions, there are non-tariff barriers, there are standards. They make you do things, even if you have certification somewhere else, they say, nahi, hamara nahi hai, kisi aur ka hai. Tricks which everybody employs to keep the other guy out. Now, we have to find ways of, going through it, persuading them, cajoling them, and I think we will make progress. We are certainly, I just had the Russian First Deputy Prime Minister here last person who's in charge of the economic relationship. And we made a very, very strong pitch to him that, look, the Russian economy should open up much more to exports from India. These areas that, as I said, pharma, agro products. I mean, a lot of the consumer industries in Russia will have a natural interest in Indian suppliers.
Yeah, I think you made a very valid point. These artificial trade barriers keep. We saw that happening to some of our cough syrups and all those things. So I think just want to quickly go around the world on the same basis. I think these three were important, but maybe just touch upon Europe, besides obviously inviting them to come and make in India. Is trade diplomacy with Europe. I mean, probably easier, but not difficult, quite difficult to crack because they have a lot of trade barriers, which are not even visible. Maybe a comment on that, and then I want to just quickly move to how you see Southeast Asia and Gulf as well, because, we're really playing in the whole world. I mean, it matters for our exports and imports. And export is a big push right now.
Well, I'm sure you asked Piyush this question, so I don't want to say.
We didn't get a chance.
Okay, because I don't want to say something which contradicts him.
No,
If I do contradict him, let's start with that.
I can assure you we didn't get a chance to ask him. Okay.
But, I would say this. Look, this government, the Modi government, we have been very cautious on FTA. And we have been very cautious on FTA for two reasons. One, weighing the experiences and the results of previous FTAs. And number two, our concern for the impact of FTAs on MSMEs. We will always keep MSME interests and the interests of our farmers in mind when we negotiate FTAs. Now, if you look at the FTAs that we have negotiated, we have done UAE, we have done early harvest, we have done Mauritius. These are FTAs where these interests were not threatened in any manner. The FTAs were architectured in a way in which these issues were not there. Secondly, we have been pressing very strongly review of the ASEAN-India trade in goods, ITIGA, trade in goods agreement, because we have concerns about the impact of that FTA on the development of manufacturing in India. And we feel that FTA should not become, in a way, Indian economy. We believe today that the performance of that FTA and the time period which has elapsed justifies a review, and we have been pushing for that very, very strongly. Your point about EU, and I will also add, by the way, we also did an FTA with the EFTA countries. There was no MSME issue, there was no agriculture concern out there. When it comes to EU and UK, I think it's complex because there are many non-trade issues also in that FTA. So those also and in the case of EU, because there are multiple members, so everybody has their interest, so you have to harmonize it, that's a challenge as well. But overall, we believe that they will benefit us, they will improve our market access. These are mature markets, there are high demand, these are high demand, high value markets, predictable, stable markets. So I would say, from an economic standpoint, we put great effort into improving our access with Europe and with North America. I think these are strong markets where it is, also in many ways the risk factors are much less than any other parts of the world. These will be tough negotiations. We should expect it. The world's not an easy place. But we are quite committed to taking that forward.
Just a quick tactical point. You mentioned about trade with Europe. What about the shipping disruptions that we are seeing in the Red Sea?
The question was the shipping disruption in the Red Sea, which is impacting trade in Europe. Absolutely. I think it is a big concern for us. We have tried to do our share. We actually deployed some Navy ships as well, quite a there. But nevertheless, what has happened is, that sense of, I would say, unease or risk. Enough ships got hit for the shipping to start looking at alternative routes. It is higher time. It has disrupted logistics. So our interest today, when people ask us today, what is your interest today in West Asia or Middle East? We have a very direct economic interest. That for us today, a ceasefire, understand, move away from what it has been for the last 1 year is of very direct economic consequence. So we have actually been in touch with all the major players, including Iran and Israel. We want restraint, we want a cooling down, we want a ceasefire, and we want negotiations so that actually our economy through shipping.
Terrific. Just two last questions. I know you have to leave. Just finishing the globe around, LATAM and Africa.
You know, look, these are very interesting geography. Africa particularly, because at one level, Indian businesses have been there for 150 years or maybe even longer. Okay. So you have old communities, but you also have people who come in the last 5 years, found sectors, it's growing. And today, if you look at the volume of trade, it's quite substantial. Latin America, for example, is now approaching a $50 billion. And it's interesting in certain sectors, pharma, for example, two-wheelers. There are Indian companies who have gone in and created in fact, agro. So there are Indian companies who have gone in. It's much broader in Africa. So what can we do? I would say what we are trying to do is, number one, make those countries more interested in India. Secondly, make them more aware of our. Now, to make them more aware of our capabilities, either they should see an Indian product, or they should see an Indian project, or at least they should see an Indian business. You cannot develop respect and interest in the business of another or never seen your stuff. So what we have tried to do is, we from the Ministry of External Affairs, we actually support projects abroad. We undertake promotional activities. I go there and I'd be happy, where ASSOCHAM is concerned, to actually, sit down with, your members. Maybe when I go to some of these markets, I'd be very happy to have a accompanying delegation. Because in these countries, in their markets deal B2B.
Correct.
The ones which are still developing, they want, they're okay B2B, they want G in the room, or they want some kind of reassurance ki bhai wo theek hai, pressed, and this chamber is good, the members are reliable people. So the initial stages, they need all of that. And I would be very happy, in fact, if we can structure geographies, some kind of program of collaboration. And, I can speak as well for my colleague Piyush Goyal, that between commerce and MEA, we would be very happy to actually support Indian businesses, market access, and getting better access to the right people in these countries.
Great. Thank you. Last question. I think it's so lucid in your answers, so it's very easy to ask you the last question. For the last 10 years or 11 years, and you're obviously one of the people who carry the brand overseas. So I was to ask you, how is the world at large seeing us over the last 10 years? What do they see as changes that have happened? I think we have a good sense, but how do they see us?
Well, I think it depends who you ask in the world. I can tell you, politicians are very much impressed if you can get 3 terms back to back. For them, it's an unbelievable achievement. I think anybody who's in the economic world, who's in the business world, when you tell them, 7 to 8% growth rate, for them is a great achievement. So, and if you look at people, for example, in the tech world, many of them today, they know, they know universities and startups and young people. Sometimes it's embarrassing. actually about this, then I would myself know. You know. But if I give you like a cumulative impression, I think look, 10 years of, I would say, better, more effective governance. 10 years, and with the COVID break, because even COVID is very interesting. When COVID first came to our knowledge, I'm talking actually in the world, everybody thought that the biggest hit will be in India. I've been with the Prime Minister in a global meeting of G20. Or the G20 leaders were there. There was a presentation. How is the world going to deal with COVID? And actually the presenter said, look, I have to say this, the country with which we are most worried, geography we are most worried about is India. Okay. Now, people not only saw how we went through it post-COVID, and if you look around the world, be very honest, a lot of countries, even developed countries, have not entirely recovered from the COVID. If you see Europe today, yes, many of their problems are blamed on the Ukraine situation, not wrong. A lot of them also post-COVID actually found it hard to come back in there. They're not gone back to pre-COVID normals. So when they look at our post-COVID recovery, when they look at the economic numbers, when they look at they hear about these, various tech things happening, and sometimes, there are these branding events, I would say, to me, the Chandrayaan landing was a huge India brand statement. People told themselves, there's something in these guys if they can do that. So I feel today that the world is interested, world wants to deal with us. We have to make it easier. We have to make it mutually advantageous. And the world is a competitive place. It's not like everybody is naturally going to come to our doorstep. I mean, there are some other countries also, who are magnet in many ways for investment. So, but overall, I would say today in the world, that feeling that let's go to India, I'm seeing that interest much more. I spoke about this big German event. I just came from Italy last. Going to come with big numbers next spring. Yesterday I had the Kuwaiti foreign minister. He told PM that we want to come here. So I think you're going to get a lot of serious window shopping. Okay, it's our shopper to make him or her into a customer. Huh? How do you bring them in? This is our challenge. And I feel today that, business has that capability, that confidence. So that is what I'm looking for.
I think in our chamber, we'll do our bit. We're doing anyway a little bit in EFTA, but we'll step up the activity in the areas where you need help. You'd asked us to coordinate with Secretary Kumaran. We're doing that. So thank you very much. Look, I think we couldn't have got such clear answers, and I hope all of you got very simple, because the minister is so lucid in his articulation. But I think just understanding the complexity and the uncertainty in the world, I think ultimately India is so lucky to have a big domestic market. We have 6 to 7, 7 to 8% growth rate in the bag. Really, as you said. So hopefully we can convert a lot of window shoppers into real average order values. And then, hopefully life looks good. But thank you so much. I think your government has done so well for the last 10 years, and leaders like you inspire us. Thank you.
I would request Shri Sanjay Nair to please present a memento to Dr. S. Jayashankar, the Honorable Minister of External Affairs, Government of India. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here and sharing your thoughts with our members and the audience. I request everybody to please remain seated. Please give a huge round of applause to Dr. S.